April 27th, 1993. A Zambian Air Force plane lifts off from Libreville, Gabon. On board, 18 players, the coaching staff, the medical team, the entire Zambian national football team, en route to a World Cup qualifier against Senegal. Minutes after takeoff, the plane crashes into the Atlantic Ocean. There are no survivors. In a single night, Zambia loses not just a team, but a golden generation. This is the story of what happened next. To understand what Zambia lost, you have to understand what they'd built. Through the late 1980s and into the 90s, Zambia's Chipolopolo, the Copper Bullets, were becoming one of the most feared sides in Africa. At the 1988 Seoul Olympics, they'd stunned the football world, defeating a full-strength Italy 4-0, a result still remembered as one of the great Olympic shocks. By 1993, this squad was on the rise again, young, talented, and building toward what many believed could be Zambia's best shot yet at continental and global glory. Names like Efford Chabala in goal, Kelvin Mutale, Derby Makinka, a team full of promise, most of them in their 20s. One man wasn't on that plane. Kalusha Bwalia, Zambia's greatest player, then playing professionally in the Netherlands, was traveling to the match separately. It's a detail that would go on to define everything that came after. The exact cause was never fully confirmed. Investigators pointed to a possible engine fire aboard the aging military aircraft. Whatever the mechanical failure, the outcome was the same. The plane went down off the coast of Libreville into the Atlantic. All 30 people on board were killed. Back home, the news broke like a national bereavement. This wasn't just a football team. For many Zambians, these players were the closest thing the country had to unifying heroes. Funerals, national mourning, a stadium in Lusaka, later renamed in the disaster's memory, became a gathering point for grief. And yet, almost immediately, a question began to form underneath the mourning. What happens now? Kalusha Bwalia, spared by circumstance, now carrying grief and responsibility in equal measure, became the emotional and practical center of what came next. There was no reserve squad waiting in the wings, no easy replacements. Zambian football had to be rebuilt from youth teams, domestic leagues, and largely untested players. The Zambian FA and new coaching staff moved fast, out of necessity. A World Cup qualifying campaign was still technically underway, and FIFA and CAF granted some accommodations, but the matches didn't stop for grief. Within weeks, a patchwork Zambian squad, many uncapped, several teenagers, were being asked to represent their country on the same stage the previous generation had died reaching for. It's hard to overstate how improbable this was. Football rebuilding projects normally take years. Zambia had months. Bwalia himself returned to the squad, playing not just as a talisman, but as a mentor to players a decade younger, many of whom had idolized the very teammates they were now replacing. Fewer than 12 months after the crash, this rebuilt Zambian squad arrived at the 1994 Africa Cup of Nations in Tunisia. Almost nobody expected them to compete. Many assumed their run would end quickly, a symbolic appearance rather than a genuine title challenge. Instead, Zambia kept winning. Group stage, quarterfinal, semifinal, match after match, this young, grief-forged team kept finding ways through. Zambia reached the final of the Africa Cup of Nations, one match away from being champions of the entire continent, less than a year after losing an entire generation of players in the ocean. Their opponents, Nigeria, one of the most talented squads in African football history. The final went to the wire. Zambia matched Nigeria for long stretches, refusing to be the fairy tale that quietly fades in the final chapter. In the end, Nigeria won 2-1. Zambia finished as runners-up. They didn't win the trophy, but they'd already won something harder to measure. The 1994 AFCON final remains one of the most emotionally loaded results in African football history, not for who lifted the trophy, but for who almost did. Kalusha Bwalya went on to become CAF Player of the Year that same year, and later Zambia's Football Federation president, carrying the responsibility of that 1993 tragedy for the rest of his career. In 2012, 19 years later, Zambia finally won the Africa Cup of Nations for the first time. The final played in Libreville, Gabon, within sight of the crash site. Players and officials described it as no coincidence. Many called it closure. 30 lives were lost in April 1993. What rose from that tragedy wasn't just a football team. It was proof of how fast a nation can rebuild around what it refuses to let die. This was Zambia, 1993. Subscribe Fabled Pitch for more real football stories.